With game week 31 drawing to a close, we are getting ever closer to finding out who's going to win the league, who's going to get relegated, and who picks up those all-important European spots. Welcome back to West Ham Unofficial. Hope you are all well. We're back for another week with the Premier League Roundup Show. Shaun joins me as ever. Shaun, how are you?
Really good, mate. Really good. You can sort of see summer trying to start out the window. So
Good stuff.
That is.
Good stuff. Josh couldn't be with us this week, unfortunately. Well, fortunately for him, he's on a football tour in Spain. Good on him, I say. Football tour in Spain, getting a bit of sun. Well done, Josh. Well done. Hope you're all well watching. We will start off with, I think it was a Saturday lunchtime, if I remember rightly, at Villa Park. And for Josh, Aston Villa 3, Newcastle 0. What a result for Unai Emery's men. They keep on going, Shaun.
Yeah, I thought they were really impressive, to be honest. I think their record since he's taken over is astonishing. I remember saying a few times, in hindsight, he was probably one of the names that your lot probably should have had a little look at. Yeah. That sort of below the top tier, sort of, do you know what I mean? Newcastle have blown me away that much this season, as I've probably criticised being a bit boring and that, but they've come into a bit of form lately. I found with Villa, though, they just looked more up for it, sharper, faster everywhere. The strange story of Ollie Watkins, because it wasn't that long ago that I was saying not good enough for West Ham, finishing was terrible, and I wasn't wrong. I wasn't wrong at all. He'd go clean through and just scuff it to the keeper. He looked poor. I don't know whether you've just got to pin all that on Gerrard. It's hard not to look at what Gerrard did with that squad and what Emery's doing with the same squad, bar I don't even think they bought anyone in January. Did they go complete home? Yeah, so it's the same squad. He's just getting more out of them. They got more energy. They got more shape. Newcastle got the best defence in the league. They got a big defence. They got Dan Burn at left back, and he's 6'5". They couldn't handle him. They couldn't handle him at all. I think he got 2. He got one disallowed by a margin of offside. He got an assist. He was just a menace everywhere, and they just couldn't handle him. After half time, did it go in 1-0 or 2-0 at half time? I can't remember. 2-0 at half time.
Something like that.
I thought, right, Newcastle come out a different team. They sort of did, but Villa had an answer. Everything they was thrown at them. Villa very impressive. They're certainly the form team in the league, finishing strong. Wouldn't shock me if they get a European spot in the slightest. And he's done a great job since he's gone in. You can't knock him. But so Villa, I don't think they've got poor. I think they've got a bit of money at the club. So, and I think they're on about developing the ground again. So it'd be interesting to see what they do with the manager there and who they bring in, because they've got a couple that even Buendia's hitting some good form as well. He looked like a very tidy number 10, and I don't up to this point now as well. He probably looked a bit of a flop sign, I think. Because he was another one to come with a little bit of a reputation. Come from Brentford, didn't he? He was one before.
Norwich?
Norwich. Yeah, similar sort of time. They're flying the championship, weren't they?
Yeah.
Similar sort of bites, a bit like Ben Rama. That's along that sort of category. Do you know what I mean? Flying the comes up, sort of does it, but now he's got a partnership going. They look tough in midfield. McGinn's showing some form again, because when he lost the cap, when he got the captaincy, didn't he? As soon as he got the captaincy, he looked shocking. Like he didn't. It was too heavy on his arm. It's a perfect example of a good manager going in, rallying the troops, good training, good organisation, and he's reaping his rewards. You can't knock him.
And I think as well, we've sat here and we spoke about Villa, obviously, week in, week out, as we have everybody else. And we sort of got to the midpoint of the season and, we were all saying, Josh was saying, it'll probably be another mid-table sort of season, one of these sides that loiters around there. And Unai Emery's completely rejuvenised them. And all those players you mentioned there, he seems to be getting a tune out of now. He's a very, very good manager, and they got a right good scoop there. And you have a look, and they are playing some very, very good football. I do like Villa. I like Villa Park. It's one of my favourite grounds to go to. And I do hope a team like Villa breaks in and gets one of those European spots, because as we've seen, we're definitely in the European run. Last year, we'll wait to see how well it goes this year in Shaun's favourite competition. But last year, it is very good for a side like, a Villa or West Ham, for these sides to be breaking in. And this season, better than ever, with Chelsea in a relegation battle. I'm joking, Chelsea fans. And you've got Liverpool that are loitering around it as well. And teams that, quality this year's been poor. So I think it's a perfect opportunity for one of these sides like Villa and Newcastle as well to be getting themselves into those European spots. So, but thank you very much indeed for joining us, Sharky and Gary as well. Thank you very much. Don't Villa have the best stats since the World Cup? They've been incredible. We've been the only team to take a point off of them in their last 8 or 9 games. And now that point against them now doesn't look as bad as before. Good evening, Jake. The bloke with a broken pitch. That's art, Shaun, and it behind you.
That is some expensive art of the world in there. I like my maps, the map nerd.
Very good, very good. Everybody else having a little chat to each other. What could have been had we got Emery? Yeah, Shaun just mentioned it at the start. Peter should have got him when he was available. Next up, I'll do this one. Everton 1, Fulham 3. Fulham were a funny side because we played them last week and they were dreadful. This week they go and they beat a Sean Dyche side that now look like they're not in the best of forms at all. And they're loitering around that relegation again, and people are starting to bring their name back into the hat again. Fulham is a very good away win. It's a difficult place to go, Goodison Park, and they've beaten 3-1. Fair play to them, and will they still, they're looking around that Europe spot as well, I think. So Fulham, if they could have a strong finish to the season, obviously they've dropped off quite a lot over the last few weeks, and I was surprised how poor they were last week, actually. So for them to come back and respond away from home up at Goodison Park, fair play to them. And yeah, they're a funny side for them, Shaun.
They are. I seen the goals going, but it wasn't until this morning my mate at work said, apparently Dyche said in the after-game interview that he sort of hinted that Everton have gone back to that weak mentality they had before he come in, where their heads went down, they were like, couldn't be bothered. That is very weak mentality if after a couple of bad results, they've gone back already. I didn't expect this result. I do like what Fulham are doing, but obviously they still haven't got Mitrovic, but after the poor performance against you, I think it's fair. They probably played below par against you.
Very.
I suppose in hindsight, you'd expect a little reaction, but to go there and win 3-1, that was a bit surprising, really, to be honest. Yeah, Everton, they sort of keep hinting they're going to get out of it, but just don't. So one result in 3 they seem to get. Do you know what I mean? And if all of a sudden it becomes a bit like Forest, they were like getting like one result in 3. Then all of a sudden, if it's like one result in 4, then you're back struggling again. So you need to get like a bit of a rhythm to getting up the bit like you're like point here, win there, point here. If you lose, it doesn't matter as long as the next game you come out and get that point again. You need to keep ticking it over. If you go 3 games, if you get like 1 point in 3 games, then you're always going to be there the last game of the season, I think.
Exactly. Let's see what you guys are saying. Gary says, Ridge, what a game for you to come to. We shut their fans up at 2-2. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But yeah, the smile on my face says it all, doesn't it? Cracking last 60 minutes and a great atmosphere. For once it was. It really was. Superb draw for us this Nick, and a massive confidence boost for the boys. Really enjoyed the Arsenal vlog. Jay, thank you very much. That's some good feedback on that. So I hope you've all enjoyed that. Have you watched the vlog, Shaun?
I flicked through it briefly, mate.
Did you see the chant about your boys?
No, what are you singing about Tottenham?
Well, basically what happened, right, is when it was 2-0 after 9 minutes or whatever, they started singing, "Are you Tottenham in disguise?" So then at 2-2, we sang it back. I was waiting for your comment to come back. I was waiting for it, but it didn't come.
All I know is, Jake, the whole of London loves singing about Tottenham. You have Chelsea, Arsenal derbies ready, hold hands and sing the same 90 minutes. If London clubs are obsessed with Tottenham, they must have something right.
Are you Tottenham in disguise? Everton in trouble. Some very bitter Arsenal fans on the internet over the weekend. Yeah, they've sort of gone back into their woodwork a little bit, but as I said, we'll talk about that later on. Right then, Chelsea 1, Brighton 2. Imagine this, right? I mean, we don't particularly like Chelsea. Well, no one does really, apart from Chelsea. Imagine taking their manager, taking their backroom staff, taking a couple of their best players, then sacking all of them pretty much, apart from the players, obviously, and then that team going to their home and beating them.
All of what you just said is obviously true. How much money did all that? That cost about 100 million to do that.
It's crazy.
Fortune for Potter and all that and the staff. And Cucurella, I think he's been a poor signing at Chelsea. Yeah. Is he 50 or 60 or something?
60 million, yeah.
That's 100 million. So might as well just give it away. the sort of thing that Tottenham normally do. So I'm quite happy. Well, Brighton keep going, don't they? I think they got FA Cup semi-final this weekend.
Yeah.
Chelsea, I think that's his third game. Fat Frank's been there.
Yeah.
Have they lost all three? They lost all three.
Who did they play last weekend? He's only been there 2, hasn't he? Because they had that Wolves game was his first game.
Champions League as well, didn't they?
Lost. Yeah. Lost. So he's lost all 3.
They lost all 3. And there's a graph comparing it to Roy Hodgson and his 3 games. But I didn't find out until today either. Remember, we keep going on about the owner. Well, the summit is just messed up there. Yeah. If you want to feel good about your club, I think that's a car crash of a club. Apparently, he was in the dressing room or something after, basically calling him a shambles, and got wrong with the club. And the other names attached, some of these other names, didn't recognise them. I'm guessing they were board members as well. They were in there as well. And Lampard's come out and said he didn't have a problem with it, blah, blah, blah. But he's been apparently rinsed all the players. And I think Gary Lineker even tweeted saying, well, that's going to help, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's like... And
this is after as well. We went on some interview or walking past, going to the car, said we're going to beat Real Madrid 3-0.
I don't know if he had put the money in, but he's not the sole owner, is he?
No.
He's a bit of a clown, and let's be honest. I don't think he's not a football man. I read things about him and nothing ever seems to make sense. The other day, remember like we said a while ago that financial fair play were chasing them because of these dodgy contract lengths they were doing. Yeah. Like you can't extend it too long. Next thing it pops up that they've extended this Enzo Fernandez they signed for another year. Just a random 1-year extension out of the blue. I'm guessing that helps them. I'm guessing to reduce his weekly wage to spread out over longer.
Yeah.
It's got to come back and bite them. I don't know what game they think they're playing. I know they've got the manager. My team's got no manager. You'd have to be mad to go there. You'd have to be mad. I don't see the appeal at all. I think it's a complete mess. Fat Frank's one of the biggest Chelsea legends ever. I even think he's daft to go back there. Even for 10 games, just pretend you're not very well. Don't.
I think it's absolutely baffling as well because you look at what they've done is they've sacked Potter, they've brought back Fat Frank, and they've quite clearly told him he's going to be there for 10 games, and then they're going to just boot him out again, right? What on earth is what are they doing? Like they're sat in 11th or 12th. Honestly, but you've got to say credit to Brighton because they keep on going, and they're a side that are very, very respectable. We're gonna come on to Brentford in a minute, who have dropped off, and Brighton have just kept going.
Yeah. I can't knock Brighton. Obviously, we beat him last week. Good win. Playing nice football. What they Brighton is 6th now. I think games in hand takes of us. I hope they do, to be honest. I like Brighton. The manager. They're one of these sort of clubs where they're a smaller club. They've got a very astute owner. I'm surprised Potter left Brighton for an idiot owner, which is clear he was. As soon as he went in, you could see he was a clown. This De Zerbi, he's a bit of a hothead. To be honest, I'm not sure if I can see him being at the club that long either. So Brighton are only these sort of clubs where they've got a good scouting network. They probably sell Casado in the summer. McAllister's probably going to go in the summer. They're probably gonna make 100 million plus on those two. So the only danger is with this, a bit like Brighton, because I know the Brighton fans always say we've always got the next one coming through. We've always got the next one coming through. It's our system. It's our scout network. I know quite a lot of Southampton fans who had the similar sort of thing coming through their academy. Remember when we were coming through. At some point, it doesn't work. At some point, you think, oh, we're going to pay 10 million for him. He'll replace 50 million McAllister, and he doesn't.
And it won't work.
At some stage, the keeper might go as well. So players aren't daft. They go there, have 2-3 seasons on the coast, and then they're looking to move. Brighton don't mind because they make 50 million on each player that comes in. However, I repeat myself, I think that always does run out. You can't.
It's a risky game, and you know that will in the end your luck will run out. Look at this. All right, rumors going that Lampard might be sacked. I think one of the journos put on that has a caretaker manager ever been sacked?
Well, there's no point now, is there?
No.
They're out of everything. They're not going to go down. They're going to be out of Europe next week.
Yeah.
he's nuts to go. I do not get what Lampard was, other than just loyalty. But like I said, I would have just pretend not to have an operation or something. I couldn't do it.
Couldn't do
Just
it. Yeah.
just save his. There's not much of his managerial reputation left already. He's been doing it for years. Just save the tail end of what's left.
Exactly.
Just stay from it.
Exactly. Be good if Brighton beat Man United. I think the whole of the English fan base, apart from of course the United lot, would love Brighton to stuff them and go through to the final. I'd quite like Brighton to win the FA Cup, to be honest. I think that'd be good for English football. Need a Scouse win tonight. We certainly do. We'll get into that a little bit later with your favourite team against them. So I wonder who you'll be supporting tonight, Shaun. No doubt Brentford will pick up again when they play us, probably. But will Shaun be happy with the Conference League? Well, I can answer that question for him, and we'll get onto that when we talk about Spurs, which I think is after this. So I'm going to talk about this one. Southampton 0, Crystal Palace 2. Now, we've sort of semi-relegated Southampton last week, and I, on behalf of Shaun, are going to fully relegate them this week. I cannot see them coming back from this now. This was it. You know, if they won, there was a glimmer of hope there. Now, I think, you know, to get to that 36-point mark, I think they're 12 or 13 points away from that, and they're not getting that with their remaining games left. Absolutely not. They are one team that we are now going to relegate. And Crystal Palace, Roy Hodgson, he keeps on going. You know, I think it was it 0-0 or 1-0 at half time, and they finished it off in the second half. It's a good away win for Crystal Palace. I think do they call this a derby, or is that Brighton Palace as a derby? I don't know.
Brighton Palace.
It's Brighton Palace, isn't it?
It's not a real derby. I think the Brighton Palace derby, isn't it linked by a motorway?
Oh yeah, it's the motorway, isn't it? Yeah.
Also, it's something to do with something happened years ago in the lower leagues. I can't remember. Right. It's a pretend derby, whatever it is. A bit like down one.
No, I was waiting for that. Hodgson working his magic. He certainly is. He certainly is. I do feel for Southampton, you know, quite close to us, Shaun. I wouldn't like to see them go down. But obviously, you know, if we stay up, then I don't care, to be honest. You know, we never seem to win down there, which is probably another thing to send them down.
Strange. Maybe it's because of the part of the country I'm in, and maybe it's my love for the seaside. But I got a little soft spot for them. Obviously, I know that one of their goalkeepers down there personally, a young lad, so don't think it won't affect him. Yeah, I'd like to see him come back up. They're already, again, they're going to have a clear out, aren't they? I think they signed quite a lot of young players last year. It won't be easy to come back up. It won't be easy at all. I won't surprise me if they're down for a year or two.
Yeah. And for Palace, that's, you know, firmly them safe mid-table. Now they might even catch Chelsea. You never know.
The thing is with Palace, that probably get onto it in a minute. I looked at the league table. They're one of about probably 10 clubs where you look at it and you think, right, what direction is this club going in? What do they actually want to do and be? Like, they chucked all their eggs in the Vieira basket, didn't they? Let's be honest. Yeah. And Vieira had a bad run of results again in a bad run of fixtures. He had a tough run. Because if you look at the run, Roy's going to do brilliant. He's obviously not there long term, but he's going to pick up these wins. They've got to play all the teams down the bottom, all of them. Yeah. But I'll be shocked if Hodgson's there next season. He's in his mid-70s now. Do you know what I mean? I know he's coming back. So which way did Palace go with it? So
that's definitely one to keep an eye on, whether they stick with him or not. Man United Liverpool isn't a derby, even though it's treated well. Well, they all think it's a derby up there. I don't know. We could be here talking about derbies all night, but it is what it is.
That's very much a cultural and a territorial sort of derby. My wife's that part of the world, like North Cheshire. You get Liverpool one way in half an hour, Manchester the other way in 20 minutes. Very much territorial. That goes back a long way, mainly because of that, because obviously both the clubs have won an absolute mountain of trophies, but the areas don't like each other. Like, there'd be like a horse racing event at Haydock or at Aintree, and you'll have the Manchester, they'll just have people in suits fighting, like the Scousers. It's not just football up there. It's just one of them things.
Definitely. Right, then let's move over to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Now, I've got a soft spot for Bournemouth as long as they don't, as long as we don't go down. But I mean, Shaun, I've seen some of your outbursts on Twitter. Not good.
Well, the best way I can do that, I should have tweeted you earlier to write some questions to me here, because I could go in so many different directions with the game, the result.
3 minutes, go.
The start of the game, I thought we started really good, like really, really good. We attacked them. I think we scored quite early. We should have I think we hit the post, hit the bar. Same old Tottenham, we score and take the foot off the pedal. And there's no explanation for it. It's just how it is at the club. It's almost like we do something, then our backsides go. I think what I've summed up, you probably read a few tweets, and I'm going to go a bit more on, because the result don't bother me a great deal, to be honest. And if I'm being honest, I've reached a point where I'm bored of plodding along, if that makes sense. Like, Daniel Levy's created, as long as he's been there 20 years, as soon as he come in, his dream was top 4. He wanted that Champions League money. He was very grim to Martin Yeo. I don't know if you're probably a bit far back for you. He got his 5th 2 years in a row, sacked him at half time in a match live on telly.
Christ.
Because he wasn't getting that 4th spot money. Then we got 4th for a few years. Then it's like 4th, 5th. If you get 5th or 6th, sacked. And he sort of said a few times, we've been in title races and he's put the brakes on in January. We've been a couple of times from winning the title twice. Didn't do it. So then it's like, you look at the league table, like this year, we're better than Liverpool and Chelsea as the league stands. Okay. But I know for a fact their fans will demand more, and their owners have got no choice but to try and get the right men in, the right players, to get them back in a title race in the next couple of years. I think we all probably expect that a little bit, from both of them. At Tottenham, if you look at in the last 10 years, probably longer, the average position of Tottenham is probably 4th or 5th. That is all he wants. And that is summed up exactly when we go to domestic cups. We get knocked out. We get an away draw. You can almost predict the team don't want it. Now, I know Daniel Levy can't kick a ball about, but this mentality of having a comfort zone of coming in this sort of position in the league, and it is based around money, it filters down. You can see it filters down. You can see every manager that goes in there. I can guarantee you now, when they get offered the job, right, the priority is get top 4, we get Champions League, and then try and see what we do. If you've got a domestic cup, try and prioritise that the league in the 4th spot. You can spot a mile off who we're going to get knocked out of cups too. This year it was away to Forest in the League Cup, away to Sheffield United in the FA Cup. You can see it coming, and I know it's down to the players, but even the subs, like he left Harry Kane on the bench. I know it's Sheffield United, but it's the 5th round of the FA Cup. You get your best team out there. They don't. And it does come down from Levy, filter down through the club. And I'm bored of it, to be honest. And I know that might sound a bit spoilt, maybe, to some, because we've had a lot of years in the Champions League and it's been great fun. And now we'll drop down if you drop to the Europa League or a conference, then we won't try and win that, because that brings nothing to the club.
I think, just to sort of interject there, when there was the sort of outburst when you lost to Sheffield United, I don't have too much sympathy for Spurs, but I sat there and went, I can see, the frustrations there, because Tottenham and I know it's not you particularly, but a fan base get riled up by everybody else, trophies, that one trophies, X, Y, and Z.
That's the thing.
Exactly.
The club try to win trophies. They've got very little interest in lifting them as a club, and the problem is it gets ingrained in the whole of the club. There's a section of the fan base who buy into the Levy theory, and I know we can go on about Sanchez getting booed. Personally, I don't mind it. Other people have slated it, but it's more than just booing the player. That was a large section of the fan base fed up with a player who was bought for 46 million about 6 years ago, who's happy to sit on the bench. It's a comfort zone. Do you know what I mean? I can say it's comfort zone over and over again. Like Eric Dyer, I banged his drum for an England recall most of the last season for the World Cup. Warranted, got it back. He's still in the squad now. He's been appalling since he got that shirt back for England. I'm still reading today there's talk of giving him a new 3-year contract. It's just pure comfort zone. And it might sound a bit spoilt that the comfort zone's 4th, 5th. Well, not 5th, because Levy's not happy with it. It's got to be 4th. If we can build a team which can guarantee Daniel Levy 4th spot, no promotion, no title push, no domestic cup, he would take it every year. And that's kind of the issue. But his decision making to get that 4th spot is getting worse and worse and worse, because we've sidetracked. We've had a lot of injuries this year. It's been harsh. But if you've got injuries, you've then got to tweak the system or the style to suit the injuries. Our managers haven't done it. Conte clearly wanted to go, kicked off, got the sack, blah, blah, blah. He keeps his right-hand man and best mate in the job. Baffling. Side note to that, this decision gets worse. Paratici, our director of football, he's only just staying out of jail. As it stands, he's banned from worldwide football. His appeals on Wednesday. And Tottenham are sending announcements out on Twitter and Facebook, just detailing or like, just get rid of him. It's like Cellini's still playing the same style, the same tactics, the same nonsense in the interview after. So it is ingrained as mediocrity. When I say mediocrity, we're not middle, 4th, 5th, 3rd. It's good. But the breaks go on. And if the breaks go on, you can sort of take that on the chin if they try more in the cups, which they don't. But also as well, like I just said then, Levy's running out of decisions because he's getting bad. I think today I think it couldn't have been 3 years ago, I think it was. They were sharing it all, even BT Sports shared it when we knocked Man City out of the Champions League quarter-final. It was everywhere today. Sure, it was 3 years ago. Pochettino on the pitch crying, up to the fans. We weren't great that end of that season either, and Pochettino had about 6 months left. For whatever reason, Pochettino at that time as well, he called out Daniel Levy and said, this team is... Remember I said to you about West Ham getting stale as well. Pochettino said in an interview, this team's getting stale. It needs revamping. It needs a mix-up. Didn't happen at all. I think he got 2 or 3 players he didn't want. So we sort of nibble away at a rebuild. Do you know what I mean? Put them around the same old players. And that's gone on and on and on. We've happy to give Mourinho 14 million a year, see what you can do with it. Do you know what I mean? Spent 3 months trying to get a manager who couldn't work out what we did. Got Nuno. Obviously, he was getting the sack. The original choice then was Conte before Nuno, but he wasn't ready for a new job. Give Conte, I think he's the highest paid manager in world football, club football anyway. He was on like 15 million a year. I loved his first year last year. It was never going to work long term. The signings in the summer, on paper, I think Richarlison, he played well, injured left, right, and centre. One probably didn't suit the system. Basuma, big fan of that signing. He was brilliant in Brighton in a midfield 3. We played 4-3-4-3. So where does he fit in? It's like
I think it's just there's
Danjuma on loan in January. Clearly, Conte didn't want him because he had an hour in the FA Cup, scored, never seen again. It also goes back to Levy, to be honest. It does.
I think there's a lot of issues there, and if you beat Liverpool in 2019 and you win the Champions League, then I think the fans have a bit more leeway there, and I don't think the team you've got is anywhere near to winning that Champions League, and I think everyone could admit that, and that's that seems to be the ultimate sacrifice that Levy wants to make there, and I think there's some big issues there, and until that whole fundamental idea and objective changes, I don't see anything else change. We will move on, but before we do, let's take some of your comments. Will Shaun be sad when Forrest Gump leaves Spurs? I don't know who Forrest Gump is, but
he's probably meaning the England legend Harry Kane, I'd imagine.
Oh, here we go.
Voice crack at that.
The bloke's got to go. Shall we? Yes or no? The bloke's got to go. Just let him go.
I don't mind if he goes. I don't mind if he goes at all. I won't be sad because I don't get that emotionally attached to players. He's been he's done enough to have a stature outside of Tottenham's ground and outside of Wembley, and I don't think there's any doubt about that. Good mate of mine's a United fan. He said, "Where's he going to end up next year?" And I said, "I can only see it being Tottenham or Man United." I don't know. If he's only got 1 year left on his contract, I won't be that upset if he goes. He's done a lot for the club, and eventually teams move on. We made the Champions League and won things before he was there, and do you know what I mean? It'll happen again.
There we go. There we go. So we'll see an interesting summer and upcoming season for Spurs for sure. Right, let's rattle through some of these games now then. Wolves 2, Brentford 0. I'll do this one. Wolves a funny side. There's a few of them. They at one stage looked like they were deep in a relegation fight, and they've managed to sort of, they're sort of win one, lose one, crap performance, decent performance. And Brentford, they seem like they're slowly petering out into nothing. If I look at the Premier League table as it stands right now, they are still just about in the top half of the table. Fulham are a point off of them, but with a game in hand. So they're sat in ninth, and they've sort of took the foot off the pedal a little bit. And for Wolves, that's a great result. I don't know what that does to Wolves now, but they're up to 13th, 34 points. So they are well clear of it now. Fair play to Wolves, decent result. They got Craig Dawson there, who is getting the recognition he deserves. I'm glad of that.
I did hear that he marked Tony at the game. I've seen a Wolves fan shared that.
I saw that too. Very, very good. We love Dawes. And yeah, it just seems like that Brentford are stalling at the moment. But as somebody said earlier on, no doubt when we play them, they will come back into some sort of form. Let's take some of your comments then, everybody. Having a little chat. Simon, hope you well, mate. Shark is not yet. The worst could still be to come with Chelsea. Can it get any worse? Well, you listen. We've got a sort of table in one of our lessons at school where we have a nice chat about football, right? And there's an Arsenal fan, a Liverpool fan, me, and a Chelsea fan. And I've been getting a stick this year, and rightly so, right? And everybody sort of turned today. Chelsea, you're going down. You're going down, Chelsea. No, it's funny. It is funny. I'm sorry, Simon, but it's funny. Yeah, go to United for Kane. I think that's the only likely destination for him. Daniela says, Peter, yes, it was, but I think Mourinho told Levy what a stupid idea the Super League was. That's the way he got sacked. Well, I don't know. Shaun's violently shaking his head. But let's have a look here. Okay, right, we're up to date. Under 21s through a 3-1 lead away at Palace to draw 3-3. Oh dear. Well, we've won the thing, haven't we? Oh no, that's the under 18s. Oh well. Go on the under 21s. Don't do a Spurs. Anyway, next up, Man City 3, Leicester 1. Shaun, I think this game, Dad watched it and he said that Leicester piled the pressure on at the end, and at one stage it looked like it was going to be a cricket score.
Yeah, obviously City do what City do, but there was a 10-minute spell in the second half because the camera went to the bench of all the players they hooked off. I think it was Grealish, Haaland, De Bruyne. Did Gundogan start, and was he there as well? You had like 4 of their best players just having a laugh and a joke. Then he actually got a goal, and then Leicester were coming for another little attack. You thought, this couldn't come back to bite him, could it? But I was watching my lad, and he said, "Why are you doing that?" I said, when you get to the business end of the season, they got the Champions League. Obviously, I know that they 3 up the other day. They beat, obviously, you got a title push. You probably got to win every game to win it. So you got to take those little gambles, even if it's hooking off your best players for 20 minutes. Because they took them off quite early as well. They didn't leave at the last 10. I think most of them are off by about the hour mark.
Yeah.
But Leicester, I think we said last week, we don't see where they're going to get the wins from. And when you look who Leicester have given the job to, that's when we said about your lot recently that you've left it too late. Who would realistically come and do the job other than the backroom staff doing it? And that's what Leicester are left with. Dean Smith, and I didn't realise that John Terry was on the coaching staff there. Really,
there as well. Yeah.
Has he gone there with him? Has he just gone with him?
Yeah. Gone with Smith because he was with him at Villa, I think.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's not exactly an exciting appointment, is it? I know I said last week about Brendan. He's the type that he's got a bit of an ego, and it's well known. So if it's going wrong, he's probably going to push all the team under the bus. He's one of them. So whether Dean Smith can rally the troops, as I said earlier about Emery and all that, I don't know. I don't know what Leicester's running's like, but they probably got to get a good 3 or 4 wins. Probably 3, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's unfair to sort of try and mark them off of, Man City way. If I just have a look who they do have next, and then I think, they are sat down in 19th now, 2 points off the foot of the table. They've got Wolves at home next, which, Wolves are a decent side. Then they've got, so in their next 3 games, they've got Wolves, Leeds and Everton.
Well, there you are. Look.
That's it. Those are the 3 games.
They probably need to get 4 out of that minimum, I'd have thought.
Yeah.
They get 4 out of that, and they drag the others down. Bit like so. Leeds next 2 games are Liverpool tonight and then Leicester. Is that right, or is that they miss one out?
Missed one out. They've got one in the middle. I'm not sure who. Let me have a look. Leeds have got they've got Liverpool tonight, and then they've got Fulham away, then Leicester.
Yeah. So yeah, they'll be hoping Liverpool win tonight, and then if they Leeds get nothing out of them, they've just got to try and just suck a couple down in. Yeah. Only problem is you've probably got 2 or 3 now, yourselves included, picking up points here and there. Yeah. So the longer you go, the longer you hang on. There's not so many teams to suck back in. Do you know what I mean? I know they usually say there's usually one team that sinks like a stone every season. I think that might have been Leicester already, because they went on that sort of they're rock bottom, weren't they? And then they went on that good run.
Yeah.
And then it all went again. So I think them dropping back down might be that sinking team. But yeah, they'll have to try the bare minimum a point against Wolves. Definitely. Bare minimum. But
at home as well, they've got to be picking up something there. Otherwise, I think it is curtains for them.
Fans got to get behind them. They can't. The fans can't solve. Do you know what I mean? Their glory period of 2-3 years is gone. Do you know what I mean? They could be in the Championship. Yeah. I said the other week, I don't know what the plan is with the owners, because I worry. I don't see them coming straight back up if they go down either. Yeah. So I'm pretty. I'd imagine quite a few of them players will be on some big wages as well. They won't be on a low wage, a lot of their players. So they, even with parachute payments, they might have to shift on 3 or 4 of the higher earners. For sure. Just looking at Leicester's running, they've still got to play Newcastle, Liverpool twice. So they've got to play them. Oh no, that's Leeds. So they've got to play them on the 15th of May, and then they've got these 3 games here as well. So yeah. Every team's got to play them, but I would say they've only really got Liverpool out of the big 6 they're left to play. So it swings in roundabout. City can win the treble, but they can win nothing at all as well. So we will see. I'll tell you what, the Premier League, we'll get onto that now. Right, I've waited a long time to do this. West Ham 2, Arsenal 2. One team that we would have liked to turn up against your lot, Shaun, is Arsenal. It's just a, it's not really the rivalry as much. We're not really particularly rivals with them, but just their fan base, they're just so funny to wind up. It's unbelievable. And they've got it again. And I know Shaun's going to get his rule book out in a minute in terms of the penalty, and I've never been so happy for him to whip out his rule book. But firstly, let me just run through it. Well, after 9 minutes, we were all catching the early train home, weren't we? It was, as I said on the vlog, it was all going. It was only going one way, and they I think they had 3 attacks in those first 10 minutes, and they walked through us every single time. And 2 of them, they put the ball in the back of the net. The defending for the second one, I thought, is absolutely shocking. And it left us at 2-0, and it was sort of what we all thought was going to be a nightmare, that conceding early was probably going to lead to conceding again and again and again. But luckily, we managed to just hold them. And I thought Arsenal were very complacent, to be honest with you. They sort of got the second. They went, all right, job done. And they sort of sat back. They didn't really press us again. If they would have kept going, they would have knocked loads past us. We were dead and buried. We were gone. If they would have got a third, that was it, finito. But they sat back. They didn't really, go at us more. They got the 2 goals, and they seemed content with that, which baffled me, to be honest. And then they did exactly what they did up at Liverpool last weekend. They gave away a stupid goal at the end. Penalty. It's a penalty. Paqueta makes a meal of it. There's no doubt about it. But that's what these players do in the Premier League now. You've mentioned it on several occasions, Shaun. Kane knows how to win a penalty. Paqueta knows how to win a penalty. There was contact there. He made a meal of it. But there was still contact there. It was a daft challenge. And for the handball, Shaun's going to get his rule book out for me in a minute and tell me about that one. And then there was a bit of hope in there. We went from being completely dead and buried. The place came alive. There was a bit of an atmosphere in there. There was some belief. And we went into half-time. We were praying we didn't do what we did against Newcastle and concede straight off after the resuming for the second half. And then the penalty happened. It's penalty, you can't deny that. It's unlucky, but it's a penalty. And Saka hits it wide, and that's one of the worst penalties I think I've seen live, to be honest. You've got to hit a target from 12 yards. There's
there's no there's no sort of acceptance of that. And it's an awful penalty. You can't really say too much more than that. That gave us a bit more belief. That was another turning point. And then the goal. It's a great goal. It's a great ball over from a player that I've given a lot of stick over the last few months, Tilo Kehrer. It's a great finish from Jarrod Bowen. Should Ramsdale have saved it? Probably. He got a firm hand to it, but he just pushed it into the post and into the back of the net. It went, and if that Antonio chance would have went in, that place would have absolutely erupted. It wasn't meant to be. We managed to hold it out in the end. We got the draw, and it's something that absolutely barely any of us expected us to see, especially after the first 10 minutes. And Arsenal's complacency just baffled me, to be honest, because they could have had that game done and dusted, and the all City are back in it, wouldn't have happened. But hey ho, that's their loss. Shaun?
Well, you'd have took 2 draws for the week at the start of the week, wouldn't you? One your one here. It's a great result. I think you've probably more or less covered everything I could possibly other than just repeat what you said. Yeah, I to be honest, I didn't watch the live game because I was out watching my lad play football in Evercreech over your direction ish. Yeah, I watched the extended highlights. You're right with Arsenal. They sort of they've never had a plan B for a long time anyway. They got one way of banging the drum, bang, 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 bang. It can go from the first minute to the 90th minute. It'll only be that way. They can take their foot off the pedal, and I think they're probably better than what they are. But I think they almost try to be Man City. You know how Man City can go up through the gears and play in second gear for half an hour. I think I said the other week with Man City, when they're winning sometimes and it's on the telly, you can just turn around and have a chat with your family and you look back and Man City just still passing the ball about, no one else has touched it, no shot. So I think Arteta is a bit of a Pep wannabe. So I think he's maybe got that in him, where instead of going for the throat and being his own man, he does sort of go down that way. But yeah, fair play to West Ham for keep going. Obviously, they probably spotted that little weakness. They spotted the little drop off and they went for it. Obviously, West Ham have been quite fortunate, but you'll take that in the last few weeks. I've even seen a little mini chart of, this is before this week, of teams that benefited from wrong VAR decisions, and you're right near the top, believe it or not. Obviously, last week you had the own goal. This week you had the penalty, the handball. The problem is the same as old VAR all the time. We had one in my game, like Kane was sort of hitting the back of the calf. They showed three replays of it, and it was just one camera. And sometimes the VAR, it's almost like, because they know they've got to speed up the decision, like, because that was the sort of the move just before the penalty, wasn't it?
Because Rice got it, like he sort of won it off of Partey who was sleeping, and then it ended up getting to Paqueta, who then got fouled.
Yeah, so I think they didn't take that long making their mind up. I think in the back of their mind, they've already slowed the foul down 2 or 3 times. Does he catch him with a sliding knee? Is he jumping before this contact? By the time they've gone through all these little things in their mind, they don't have time to go back to what happened 10 seconds before. So the reality is, with the law book says, it was handball in the build-up. It wasn't really a separate phase. It's sort of the same phase, really, because it carried on. But how long and how far back does VAR go to try and rule things out?
Good old Dermot on Sky today said that because it wasn't as deliberate as the referees would have wanted, and because it went off his body then onto there, just forget about it.
To be honest, I'm getting bored of Dermot on. I think we got the United one next, haven't we? But
congested in there, wasn't it? Congested.
It's like how much did you want to protect your mates, Joey? Yeah. I can see why he didn't give it, because congested. Well, how's that ever mattered? So yeah, I think I wouldn't worry. Obviously, you're not going to worry because you got the decision, but it's just VAR. It's like they know they're against the clock. They know they can't. How far back do you go? In every goal that goes in, how far back do you go? And
go back to the warm-up. Do you go back 2 seconds? What do you do?
I think there is sort of a rough guess of a time period, but when you can't spend a minute and a half looking at the penalty decision, and then for a minute there might be another decision.
Yeah,
let's have another.
Let's roll it back a bit.
You just can't do that, and yeah, I'm glad the penalty was given. I think you're looking for errors, you're looking for problems, and But yeah, it's a good point. I know a lot of people are just enjoying the Arsenal bottling it and all that thing. I'd still put them favourites myself.
I think that's turned it for me. I was sort of on the fence, leaning towards City. I think they'll win it now with the game in hand
Do you know
against
what?
us.
Do you know what? I would think that, but how the fixtures have fallen for Arsenal coming up next, and with City not having a game, I'm leaning towards Arsenal still, because on Friday night Arsenal are home to Southampton. So if that's a confidence builder if they want it to be. Yeah. And then they extend their lead. I know City have got 2 games in hand, but just because of that little thing, they've got that chance to put 3 or 4 more into Southampton, finally condemn Southampton. City, if it's 1 game in hand, still 2 game in hand. I know Man City can be a juggernaut in the last 4 months of every season. Just at the moment, I think Opta do like percentage of chances, and they're going with Man City about 60% now. I would still, just because of how the fixtures are falling this weekend, the fact that City haven't got a game, Arsenal have got a bit of a dead duck they've got to play against. Do you know what I mean? Like, just because of that, if they had a middle of the road team like a Brentford or someone like that, then I would think that they could come unstuck again. But because of how it's fallen for them, I'd still just stick with Arsenal. But yeah, it's a bit like the relegation. Then we're gonna have to come back to it every week, and
we are gonna have to come back to it. Yeah,
all that
keeps going. And that game up at the Etihad next Wednesday could be make or break. Does Shaun think West Ham will finish above Chelsea? Yes or no?
No.
Yeah, I agree. Saints Forest and Leicester to drop. Saka didn't look so world class. Yeah, if you know, you know. Yeah, he didn't, did he?
Yeah, and I go back a little bit of lady luck. Do you know what I mean? Like, just
he was crap. He was awful. Saka.
But even I think Thomas Partey is probably the worst game he's had this season as well. So whether it's just a little bit of luck or the pressure getting to him, and obviously you were just there at the right time, take advantage. You wouldn't normally expect a player to put a bit like Salah the other day, wasn't it, against Arsenal? So yeah, that sort of swung both ways for Arsenal with the luck of that, really. So
for sure. Let's take some more of your comments before we move on to that United game and start wrapping things up. So Shaun can go and watch his favourite team at 8 o'clock. Peter says, with penalties, they should just whack them in instead of all the stupid nonsense beforehand. Arsenal got a lot of stick from the crowd and around because as soon as it went 2-0, Ramsdale started time wasting on the 15th minute, which I thought was a bit baffling against little West Ham. And then they were starting to hurry us up when it got to 2-2, and they were delaying the penalty, trying to give Ben Rama the old lip, and yeah, it's what champions try and do. Peter says should scrap VAR. It's real football. That we could be here for about 24 hours talking about that. That's for sure. Toss, thank you very much for joining us, and thanks for becoming a member of the channel. That is greatly appreciated. Thank you very much indeed for your support. Next up, we'll rattle through this. Nottingham Forest 0, Manchester United to a congested penalty area. Nottingham Forest are dwindling out into a home form catastrophe, which is sending them down, Shaun.
Yeah, never home game. I said a few weeks ago, didn't I? The home form's just dipping off. Didn't think they did too bad, really. The Maguire thing, I'm not sure why it wasn't a penalty. I haven't heard a good reason to say why it wasn't yet. I don't know. She said bad excuses why things are a penalty, aren't a penalty. Going back to what someone just said then, we can link it into this about VAR should be scrapped. I think the reason, we said this a few years back, the reason it come in is because the press, the highlight programs we've got everywhere, Twitter just re-showing every replay. The officials were getting crucified for making decisions far too much. I don't know if you remember, even now it's the same. You were talking more about the decisions being wrong than the good goals. It's the same now, but so it's the same now that it was then. The only way, it probably won't ever go back, but the only way it would work if we go back is almost if they put an agreed almost blanket ban on OTT replays. If the decisions are wrong, focus on the football. Do you know what I mean?
Slow-mos. Just take out slow-mos. Everything looks worse in slow motion for me.
You've got to remember, if you're on the ground, you haven't got a clue half the time. Do you know what I mean? So that we only know by, I always say there's not enough cameras for VAR, really, but we only know because of super slow motion. We only know because of screenshots, which are often wrong and give you a distorted view. you could get rid of a lot of that and just accept that. Get rid of the stupid camera in the manager's dugouts. What? Why are they seeing any of that stuff?
Yeah. Oh,
Do you
them.
know,
Oh, them iPads. They can go and have a look at it. Yeah.
that's causing arguments in the dugouts.
Yeah.
Same Mike and last week at Brighton. There's no fight on the touchline because of just disagreeing on why is there a screen down there. That's what's ruined it. It's not necessarily we've always had wrong decisions, but the fact that us fans there's the blanket ban at 3:00, but you'll still see the replay as soon as there's a bad decision. Why it's a penalty? That's what's caused the problem. Just too much crap being shared about. Do you know what I mean? Like, and the referees. That's where the referees have got worse because the pressure on their back's so high now.
It is, yeah.
And even the other day with the blimmin' and linesman elbowing Robertson for Liverpool. A camera must have been at the top of the cop, or whatever it was, zoomed right in to catch it as they were walking off at half time, just to get that little flick of the arm. Like, come on, does anyone care? Does anyone really care? It's just making football's losing touch about the footballs. All about now about the controversy, and it's just like today. Yesterday, there's a little bit about West Ham's penalty. I go on Twitter today, and it's just shared everywhere. Oh, why didn't the handball? Well, this a penalty. Every Arsenal must have about 30 TV pages on Twitter. Every one of them, is this a penalty? Well, it was given. Move on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We don't need a day later to see whether there's enough contact. Did Paqueta make a meal of it? Why? Do you know what I mean? It's boring. It's boring, and it causes.
You fed up, Shaun?
It's just boring, and I don't think there's a way back. But the only way is to go a bit old school. If you're on a Saturday morning, if you go watch ITV4, they have is it the old match or something like that?
Rewind, yeah.
Yeah, it's muddy pitches. The football quality is not great. However, you hardly see a replay for anything. We love a replay. I want to see a replay of a brilliant, like, De Bruyne ball through, or a brilliant goal, or maybe if there's a little fight or a bit of bad tackle, I get that. But these like penalties, or is this handball, or is it not? There's a director making sure we see all these replays. There's not really a need. If VAR don't want to give it, we don't have to see it. We don't have to see it. They can just see it on their little monitor, wherever they're watching it. We don't need to see it on the telly. If they think it's fine, if they think that's not handball, Maguire, right, it's accidental, it was congested. He headed it on his arm. If that's what they think, fine. Us at home, we don't need to see it. If we don't see it, and then there's no streams going out where they can nip a little copy of it off and little like snippets and edit it and all this nonsense, then we move on quick.
I'd be interested, and I think they do it in rugby as well. Not necessarily getting, a mic on the referee, because I don't think that'll work. Swearing, and there's so many logistics of it. But I think one thing that can be asked for is either after the match it should be posted, or Sky Sports should be given a stream of what these VAR people are saying in this room, because we ain't got a clue what they're saying. In the stadium will matter, but for the majority of people that are watching it on the telly at home, if we can hear what they're saying in the VAR, we might be able to understand it a bit better. That's what I'd say. But I think there's so many issues there. It needs to be either scrapped completely, or the rule book needs to be looked at. We need to go back to the bare bones, and we need to really restructure the way, especially the handball rule, and go again.
Problems with the handball rule with VAR, because it's so detailed. They've had about 2 or 3, maybe 4 goes at it now.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember when they first started it, and it was Eric Dyer actually, which got the rule changed mid-season. Any handball by a defender in the penalty area was a penalty. Any handball. He jumped up for a header, missed the header, and someone kicked it the back of his arm, and he was looking the opposite way. And he gave a penalty, and it was like, that's ridiculous. So they changed it mid-season. And they're not going to get it right, because we don't know what it is now. I know it's like the unnatural bit with the arm. I kind of get that. So you got defenders keeping their arms in. I just don't see how they're ever going to get it right, and we'll always be in this position now, debating it, moaning about it, arguing about it. Nobody really understands the laws. You get an ex-ref on the telly trying to defend his. I don't see how it's going to change.
No,
penalty things are they're nearly there with that. I think if there's contact in the box and someone's tried to do that. I get that. There's that silly offside rule where if you stick out a leg and it's accidentally deflected, rather you trying to play the ball. You know that one I'm on about?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
There's so many little, there's so many little strands of it, and you know it probably a lot better than I do, Shaun. But there's so many different areas of it that cover, and you mentioned a lot of it last week, where the majority of football went with Brighton last week, and you defended it by looking at the rule book, and some of it was in the rule book. I think everybody can agree is not right. Well, when we look and get, well, that's not that, is it? But in the rule book, it is, which is the frustrating thing about it, because we all believe one thing, but it is what it is. Right, let's take some comments and start wrapping things up. Peter says, if that's possible, penalty had been at the other end, it would have been a penalty for Man United. Are we staying up? Says Helen. I've got a lot more confidence than I did pre-Fulham. I will give you that for certain. But we've still got some work to do. That is for sure. If linesmen did their job properly, then no need for VAR. Football was better in the 70s and 80s. Daniela says, players were more honest and acted like sportsmen and not spoiled children. We would not need VAR. If players, yeah, there we go. There's that.
I'll nip back into that linesman one, if they did their job. One of the best, for entertainment, one of the best games I've watched all season, any league, was last weekend when Wrexham beat Notts County 3-2. I don't know if any of you watched it, but the linesman was having an absolute mare first half, right? The commentators picking up, look, you're bad, right? Okay, that's fine. But the Wrexham manager got a booking because at half time, he went in hard at the referee and said, you got 5 major decisions wrong. He doesn't know that unless he's seen it on a screen.
Yeah.
All right. So they were bad. We don't have VAR and angles and all this nonsense. But again, it's non-league, and the commentators still picking up on it. And then that's triggering the manager. It's like that sort of the process of mistakes are going to happen. I run the line, and I'll make mistakes now and again. For my last
not very often, Shaun.
Not often, no, mate. I know the laws. But yeah, it's just even at that level that the referee, the manager getting booked for having a go at the ref, for having fun. And I blame a lot of it on too much cameras, too much repeats, too much footage. We just don't need to see half of it. And the manager, if after the game, then the manager should see it, and then they can maybe have a moan. Mid-game, let me have a look at that, or it's not helpful. That's what
Too much commotion. Yeah, it's not helpful at all. Peter says players going down like they have been shot when someone just brushes their shoulder is ridiculous. Why did they bring the rule in that keepers can't pick up the ball when it's passed back to them? There's so many rules that are just VAR should. Oh, go on.
Yeah, the goalkeeper rule coming. I reckon that must have been right at the start of the Premier League. Must have been early 90s. It's a lot to do with speeding the game up, basically, because you think you've got time wasting now. Goalkeepers would chest the ball down, they pick it up, roll it out, pick it up.
Right, and
because that was like the start of now like the goalkeepers more or less better be like a right back now. They play with the ball. I can remember when it changed, probably way before you were born, Jake. When it changed, there was quite a commotion. Like, how these basic goalkeepers all their lives they've just been diving in the pitch. That is it, kicking it long, diving. And next thing you know, they've got to try and control the ball. So for the first couple of years, it was a little bit like a circus for goalkeepers. A little bit, they didn't know what to do. Even a couple of them forgot and picked it up. I remember it, but yeah, I think that's a plus to football because it did slow it down a lot. You'd have defenses passing it around,
right?
Pass it back to the goalie, and he can pick it up. I think the rule then was they could hold it in their hands for 8 seconds. But then you could roll it out and pick it up again for another 8
seconds. Yeah. Daniela says VAR should not change a decision. Like with rugby, the ref should ask if there's any reason, so they should change their mind. Todd says one rule that annoys me is how the game should only be stopped due to head injuries, but games are forever getting stopped for someone sitting down holding their ankle. Dad mentions it here as well. When they've brought in this head thing, and by all means, it's the right thing to do, but players have cottoned on, and if they want to slow things down, even if they've been on the ankle or something, and good on holding their head, the ref's got no choice but to stop it, because they'll go, well, you've got to stop it for a head injury, ref. Hold your head, game stops.
But there's only one way around that, And that's if the ref says there's something wrong with your head injury, you go off the pitch for a minute to get checked by the doctor straight away.
Yeah.
That's the only way you're going to stop something like that, because football's always been the same. If they're always going to exploit the rules, that's been the same since football began. That's nothing new. As soon as there's a law change, how can I exploit this a little bit? They'll even talk about it in the training. Like, I think, was it you was chatting to a goalkeeper went down with an injury? I think it was Arsenal last week. It was against Liverpool, I think. Their goalkeeper went down. Next thing you know, all 10 outfield players rush over to the dugout for a little pep talk. Now, I know fact, because I know a few people involved in the youth academies and that. They do that at that level. They do it. It's part of the game now. They, like, my mate, I was watching my mate, he went down, he goes, yeah, that's like, it's almost the clockwork. If you're winning a game, like on an hour, go down, like, oh, something wrong with my ankle, and they'll just all walk over to the manager, get a little drink. Check. It's part of it now. It just is.
So many things coming into it. Stop Des Walker and Alan Hansen rolling it back and forward to keeper, picking it up and then going for it again. Right, we will leave it there. Interesting debate as always. We've gone a little bit into VAR tonight, which we try not to do too often because otherwise we'll be here until next Monday. But yeah, plenty of debates and things that have gone wrong this weekend. Plenty of good football in there as well. As we now go and watch Leeds Liverpool at Ellen Road for once. Up the Scousers, just this once, and we'll see you soon. Shaun, thank you very much as always. Good show.
No worries, mate.
I will see you next week. Thank you very much for watching, Peter, everybody else, for your comments and thoughts throughout the show. We'll be back leading up to the Conference League second leg quarter-final taking place on Thursday, so we'll have some previews and stuff about that, and then we're off to Bournemouth on Sunday for that game where two sides that are trying to get away from that relegation zone, and hopefully both sides can do that. But yeah, more content to come. Follow us for Aaron West. I'm an official. Check out all the stuff from the Arsenal game. There's vlogs, videos, shorts, all of that jazz. Find that on the channel, and we'll see you soon. From me, come on, you eyes. Thank you very much, Shaun. See you soon.
See you later, chaps. Bye bye.
Cheers, Shaun.